In this video, we have got a 100 plus kill game on Provence Conquest with the M2 Carbine, or Carbine, however you want to say it, from the Assault class. As always, stick around. In just a moment's time, at the end of this clip, I'm going to show you the specializations of my choice, giving you an in-depth and in-detail breakdown of what I choose and why. I'm then going to go into the pros and cons of this weapon, how I'm using it or how to use it in general, how to use it on this map, and of course what's happening specifically in this game, what am I doing to be able to reach the 100 kill game. So let's kick straight off with the specializations, and as you can see on screen, we go all down the right with quick aim, ported barrel, custom stock, and lightened stock. The first specialization is going to be an easy choice. It's effectively quick aim versus changing to your secondary faster. Given that the M2 Carbine is one of the most aggressive guns in the assault class, and you're going to be, running and gunning with it and needing to pull your gun up fast to win those gunfights, quick aim is going to be valuable over the entirety of the course of a game, which is generally about 30 minutes for Conquest games, providing you find a balanced game these days, of course. The other option of changing to your secondary faster, although useful in close range engagements where you run out of ammo, again, you're only going to use that a handful of times possibly throughout the course of a game if you're not able to successfully reload in time. Again, quick aim is probably the best option, and you're going to get the most use out of it over the course of a game. The second and third specialization options looks at accuracy for the two on the right and hip fire for the two on the left. Hip fire isn't really an option with this gun. It's not very good at hip fire with or without the specializations, and you don't really want to be using hip fire with this gun, mainly because it has a slightly lower damage per bullet versus some of the other SMGs in the medic class, of which those SMGs also have much better hip fire without, hip fire specializations equipped as well. Factoring in that you're going to lower your accuracy by using hip fire and that low damage per bullet, you're pretty much putting yourself at a massive disadvantage whenever you're using hip fire with this gun while playing aggressively. And of course, you're not going to use hip fire unless you're up close and aggressive. So for me, that's not really an option. The simple option, therefore, is to go down the right with the two accuracy specializations, which is pretty useful because this is a very fast fire rate weapon, and it does have quite a bit of kick and recoil if you're not used to pulling down on the thumbstick. Of course, if you're on controller, to be able to control that recoil. So the accuracy will help you out quite a lot in that case. So again, it's a very easy option to go down the right for the second and third specializations. The fourth and final specialization option comes down to a quicker reload or faster strafing, i.e. faster movement while aimed down sight. Given the simple fact that this weapon already has a pretty fast standard, tactical and full reload, there isn't really much need or benefit from having the faster reload, as you can see there on screen. The strafing is going to be very important and useful, especially when you're coming up against other medic SMG weapons who will be using this specialization, and this is going to be one of, if not the most aggressive weapon you will go with and choose from the assault class. So it's a very important specialization, I would say, to go for the faster strafing while aimed down sight. Moving on to the pros and cons of the M2 Carbine. If we start with the pros, as I've mentioned already, the reload time is pretty good. It's got a fast fire rate, so it is naturally one of the faster time to kill weapons in the game. And if you want to see it as a positive, it's effectively an SMG in the assault class. So if you wanted to use an SMG in the assault class while still having the ability, to use a lot of explosives, then that is a massive positive for many of you. Of course, you might see it as a disadvantage, being that you're running and gunning with an SMG, and you want to be able to heal up as much as possible. Of course, but you can't. As we then look at the disadvantages, starting with the damage per bullet, which is quite low. If we just, look at the general overall standard damage at the closest range as possible, so not factoring in any damage drop off at range, it has a standard damage of 20. Versus in comparison to, for example, a ZK, which is probably the gun you're most likely going to come up against, which has a standard base damage of 25. So you can see my point at the start of the video where I talked about the hip fire on this gun and the hip fire specializations not really being an option. The ZK has 5 extra damage at those closest ranges, and already has better hipfire with or without any hipfire specializations. Building upon the negative of the damage per bullet, the damage drop off at range is pretty steep, whereby when you get to 50 meters, it's pretty much below 15 damage per bullet and goes down to its lowest at 13 damage per bullet when you start to reach 75 meters. Of course, you're not really going to be using this gun at those long ranges, but if you do value, the ability to be able to target and kill enemies at those longer distances, it will become a struggle with this gun. But make a note throughout the course of this game, and you will see it in plenty of clips in the remainder of this game, me using burst fire when I'm at those medium ranges, and tap fire or changing to semi-auto mode, to get headshot kills on enemies that are at those longer ranges, which are out of reach. Headshots therefore being very important with this gun for long range targets to account for that massive damage drop off at range. A smaller disadvantage to consider is going to be the sight options. The iron sight is not the cleanest, and when you factor in its high recoil, it's very hard to keep the enemy, on sight in target when you're shooting in full auto with the gun. As well, the 3x option, has a higher magnification and zoom, which increases the visual recoil, as well as having a thick post. Again, makes it very hard to keep your sight on target. And just becomes a frustrating time. Hence why it's very often all you see is going to be the reflex sight, which I'm using now. Lastly, and as just mentioned, as part of the sight options, the recoil is going to be, a bit of a kick, a bit of an issue for those who start off using this gun, but I'm sure you've seen plenty of videos online from some very good high kill games that it is manageable once you get used to it. But I would consider this to be one of the higher recoil guns in the assault class, and therefore would class it as a disadvantage. Okay, so moving on to this game in particular, what am I doing to be able to find the most amount of kills I can to obviously achieve and get this 100 kill game with this weapon? If you've seen previous 100 kill game videos, you will know that this little house which I'm in right now, and I am going to be inside of for the next few minutes, as well as the main big house in the center of the map, which is right behind me now. These are going to be the sort of main two power positions of this map, whereby this is pretty much the center of the map. It's, in the main flow of where enemies or any players are going to run through and run past to travel across this side of the map. The majority of enemies are always going to be on this side of the map. As you know, the other side of Provence is all open fields with its vehicles that will just tear you apart as long as you just run out in the open for 1 second, or you'll get sniped easily with 2 body shots from a low-level sniper because it's so open. So all the kills that you're going to want to find while playing as infantry are going to be on this side of the map, and even if you're playing as a vehicle, the kills are all going to be on this side of the map. This is where you want to stick for all and the majority of the action. So those two houses in the center of the map where I was just a moment ago, and where you will see in a moment's time again, is going to be the 2 hotspots which you can use as the best point of cover, as well as being able to pick enemies off who are traveling, to and from the map. Whichever side you spawn on, the British side or the German side, those are going to be key areas that you're going to want to patrol and stay to be able to find the most amount of kills possible. Staying inside these buildings is also going to be a very important rule, because as you probably experienced many times, tanks are always patrolling and looking down these long, narrow roads, and you will get picked off straight away when you run out onto these roads. So try and stick behind cover or in buildings as much as you possibly can, and stay away from that middle lane, of the map. So we have 5 minutes left of the video. I'm going to leave you in just a moment to watch the final few minutes in peace with no commentary, so you can sort of hear the game better, where the gunshots are coming from, and getting a better idea of my movement and effectively what I'm doing based off of the commentary and advice I have just given. But the last thing I want to say is, again, remember those power positions which I've just talked about in those little houses. You're going to see a nice streak here before the end of the game, basically using this house. And again, make note of me using burst fire at medium range, as well as tap fire / semi-auto mode to be able to get those longer range kills. It's very important that you do this and get used to doing this, because it means you can stay in the perfect cover and still be effective to get kills at those medium and long ranges. You will therefore stay alive a lot longer if you're good at long range, because you can then stay at those points of cover. Otherwise, if you've always got to be at close range to get kills, then you've always got to leave cover to run and get in range of enemies. Running towards the enemies means going out in the open, again more susceptible to dying, and engaging in gunfights when you have no cover, as well as of course running, meaning you've got your gun down and it's going to take longer to pull your gun up to win gunfights. So being good at long range is extremely important, and using burst fire semi-auto mode is there to be used, so definitely use it. Right, thank you for watching, please smash a like, and I will see you on the next one.